Rant for a Tuesday. I am Pugs Moran. I am still sick. Hi, Taronda. Taronda is here in the chat room. Hi, Taronda. Yeah, I started to get sick last Friday. Well, what are you going to do? I don't mind the voice, though. The voice isn't terrible. It gives me a little bit more bass, a little easier. Yeah, I have no bass in my voice. I speak from the throat, not from the diaphragm. Trust me, vocal coaches have been telling me for years. I don't know. They're like, who taught you how to speak? I go, nobody. It was just kind of natural. So that's a problem. But when I have the sick, as we call it, my voice does get a little bit deeper. Hi, Cameron. Cameron's here. Good to see you. Taronda's here. Good to see her. Byron's here. Hello, Byron says. All right. Let me get a sip of coffee. It's actually not coffee today. It's tea. That's right. I don't know why. When I'm sick, I'm like, it's time for tea. So I've been drinking tea. Black tea too. I used to drink tea. Do you drink your coffee black? Do you drink your tea black? I don't know. I don't put anything in it. Never have. It's too sweet. I think a cup of coffee in the morning is supposed to taste like ass. It's supposed to be awful. It's supposed to wake you up. You're not supposed to go, oh, this is delicious. I just want to. So, it's one of those kind of deals. Who else do we got? Peter's here. Hi, Peter. You know what? Let's tell everybody who today's executive producer is. Today's executive producer of the show is a guy who dropped a little something yesterday at the end of the show. I sure do appreciate it. That is Mike D. That's right, Mike D. Thank you. How do you get to be executive producer of this show? Well, you tip the show. That's how. This show runs on your gratuities and your tips. Been doing it for 2.5 years. Been struggling these last couple of months, but tis the season. Hopefully that'll change. Get some tips maybe. Biggest tipper of the day gets to be the executive producer for tomorrow's show. Thank you so much to Mike D for helping out. If you are so inclined and you would like to help support this kind of talk radio, what is this kind of talk radio? It's the kind that's not allowed on AM. The kind that I did for 20 years. And now they're like, yeah, you can't do that anymore because people only want to hear about Obama's birth certificate. I don't know. I don't do divisive, mean-spirited political talk. So do I have an axe to grind against those people? Yeah, a little bit. Is it because of their politics? Not so much. It's because they are doing a style of radio that does not have any room for any other sort of attitude. And that's what I'm doing here. We're doing a different kind of talk radio. Non-divisive. We're just talking about all the stuff that happens in the world, and we're not looking at it through a lens that's either blue-colored or rose-colored. It's red and blue, right? Isn't that it? See, I don't even know. I care that little about politics. All right, so how does this show get going? Well, we do it in 4 quarters. I call it 4 quarters. It's 4 individual segments. These segments interlock to create the overall rant. And what is the rant? It's a 2-hour plus some nights, some days, stream of consciousness. Just me doing this, talking in front of a microphone. Dreadfully fearful of pauses. So I'm just going to keep talking. It's a stream of consciousness. I have a filter. I use a filter. And what is that filter, you ask? Aren't you worried you're going to say something you shouldn't because it's just, stream of consciousness? No, because I was raised by good people and I'm not a bad person. So I don't think that even my loosest thoughts would at any point be. Now, I know Adam Rady gets triggered. He's sort of my far left trigger warning. Like I know when I'm getting close to something. If he's going nuts about something that I said, then I know it's not really a big deal, but it is something that I should probably look at. On the other side, I got Byron and Barney. Those two guys are like my far right. When I see them going, yeah, that's right, Pugs. When I see them doing that, and I rarely do, that means that, maybe I need to rethink what I'm saying. Just kidding, boys. I love you both. Love you all equally. But we try not to be divisive. We don't give a shit about that stuff. We know that everybody who represents us in Washington, D.C., and also in our assorted state houses around the country, we know that they're all something wrong with them, that there's something wrong, there's something broken, in something at the granular level is broken about our system. See, now I'm ranting. All right, so it's 2 hours of that, but it's not just that. It's actually more formatted. First quarter that we do, we call it Erstwhile on This Day. I run through some things that have occurred on this day throughout history, and we talk about them, and then we move on. Quarter 2 of this show, the second quarter, those are births. We talk about people born on this day, give you a little bit of info about what they did, and then we move on. Quarter 3, these are the deads. Third quarter of this show, we talk about people who died on this day, people who dropped dead. We go through their life's resume and we decide whether they're in heaven or hell. That's kind of fun. I kind of like doing that because you really have to consider whether or not somebody's a piece of garbage or not. Then quarter four, those are all of the issues shaping today. The headlines, the hot topics, the current events, whatever it is people are talking about today. I put them together for you. I make a nice little list and then we do them in the fourth quarter. So there you have it. That's the High Noon Rant. That's what it is. So if you're ready, I'm ready. What do you say we get started? It is the High Noon Rant for the 9th day of January, year of our Lord, 2024. Did you know? Did you know? I bet you did. January 9th is the 9th day of the year. Yeah, saying what day of the year it is, it only gets interesting around like February, because then you got to be like, oh, yeah, okay, because we're in the second month. It's the 9th. Tomorrow's going to be the 10th day of the year. Then it's going to be the 11th. You can pretty much figure that out. All right, let's get started. Here we go. The first segment of the day, we call this Erstwhile on This Day. It's a look back at all the events that have helped shape our understanding of this day throughout time. As Tony Soprano would say, immemorial. On this day, erstwhile, in 1788, Connecticut becomes the 5th state to ratify the United States Constitution. Welcome to the party, Connecticut. Welcome to the party. All right, quick, some thoughts on Connecticut. I don't know. It's just a suburb of New York City, right? Isn't that what Connecticut is? You live in Connecticut. I figure you work in New York. You live in Connecticut. I figure you're a fan of the Yankees or the Mets or the Knicks or whatever. Yeah. All right. Happy birthday, Connecticut. It's not really their birthday, but they accepted the Constitution. 5th state. They were one of the early adopters. So for that, Connecticut will always have our praise. On this day in 1962, that's right, absolutely nothing happened in this country or on this globe, on this planet, between 1788 and 1962. In 1962, NASA announces plans to build the C-5 rocket launch vehicle. The C-5 rocket. This would be the booster. This would be, let's see. Let me read it to you because I can talk NASA because I'm a NASA nerd. But I'll read exactly what it says. NASA announces on this day in 1962 plans to build the C-5 rocket launch vehicle, then known as the Advanced Saturn, to carry human beings to the moon. The Saturn V rocket, ladies and gentlemen, the biggest, most badass rocket ever built. I guess it's been surpassed. But at the time, I'm telling you, at the time, it was a marvel. On this day in 2005, Mahmoud Abbas wins the election to succeed Yasser Arafat as president of the Palestinian National Authority. How'd that work out? Mahmoud Abbas? There's all hell is breaking loose on his watch. And boy, that's really how we envision sharing democracy with the world, right? A dude that was elected in 2005. He's still in power, isn't he? 2005. Well, no, wait, is he gone? What is the deal with him? Hold on. Now I got to find out because I want to, you know me, I don't get into the weeds on the Israeli stuff. We talk about it every day, but quite frankly, if you want real information on what's going on over there, there are better places than me. I'm hiccuping now. Yeah. Okay. So he's currently the president of the state of Palestine. I haven't really heard much from him. He's been chairman of the Palestine Liberation Organization since 2004. I'm hiccuping. It's going to be a problem. There you go. That's democracy. They elected him in 2005. Almost 20 years later, he's still there. That's democracy. We didn't teach him. We didn't teach him that you got to throw these people out every now and again, especially at the highest level. Hiccups. This sucks. All right. You know me. Sometimes I get the hiccups during the show. It's one of the downsides of a stream of consciousness talk radio experiment. Jeez. In my defense, I've not had hiccups in well over a month. This is the first bout of hiccups that I've had in 2024. Let's make it a good one. As we've learned through past bouts of hiccups that I've suffered while live streaming, just ignore it because now what I'm doing now, talking about it, it's just going to make them worse. But if I just kind of change direction, just keep going, just push forward, we'll be fine. So let's continue with Erstwhile on this day. On this day, Erstwhile, in the year 2007, Apple CEO Steve Jobs introduces the original iPhone. On this day, he went, look at this. And people were like, what does it do? And he's like, everything. It was on this day in 2007, Apple CEO Steve Jobs introduces the original iPhone at a Macworld keynote in San Francisco. When did he die? Steve Jobs died like 10 years ago, maybe. Maybe, I don't know. Tim Cook's been in power for quite some time there at Apple. But something interesting happened. The other, we were watching something. My 14-year-old son was here, and we were watching something, and it was a documentary about, it was a documentary on HBO Max about Y2K. Remember Y2K? It's really good. And they showed Steve Jobs, like a young Steve Jobs, like 1995 Steve Jobs. They showed Steve Jobs, and it said Steve Jobs under his name. And my 14-year-old son goes, oh, so that's Steve Jobs? And it's such a weird thing to have heard him say, because to me and you and most people, Steve Jobs is a contemporary dude. But the way he said it and the way he was like intrigued to see what Steve Jobs looks like, he may as well have been Thomas Edison to my 14-year-old. My 14-year-old was like, oh, that's Steve Jobs? Okay, that's what he looks like. I just thought it was weird because I think of him as a contemporary. On this day in 2007, Apple introduced the iPhone. Steve Jobs did at a Macworld event in San Francisco. On this day, erstwhile in 2015, the perpetrators of the Charlie Hebdo shooting in Paris 2 days earlier are both killed after a hostage situation. Okay. You remember that? You remember the Charlie Hebdo thing? I do. That was awful. All right, let's move forward. Q2, ladies and gentlemen. They claim it's their birthday. I don't have the music rights, so I sing songs. I certainly don't have the rights to Beatles music, which I imagine are probably a little more expensive than others. Born on this day. Let's do birthdays. Born on this day, Richard Nixon, 1913. He is not a crook, he would have you know. Richard Nixon, 37th president of the United States. He was a lawyer. He was a president. On this, he resigned. Only president to resign. He's like, I'm getting out of here. You people, I can't take the heat. And he got out. On this day in 1934, the world welcomed a real son of a bitch. Actually, I don't have any hatred towards this guy. I have legacy hatred, but, nothing personal. Ladies and gentlemen, happy birthday, great Green Bay Packer quarterback, Bart Starr. That's right, Bart Starr, the first. Sure. You got your Brett Favres and your Aaron Rodgers. Hell, you may even have your Jordan Loves now. Who knows? He certainly looks like money, which is absolutely awful news to me. But whatever. He looks fine. I got no hate for Jordan Love, except everything that he stands for and plays for. I hate the Packers. Bart Starr was the first. He was the first of the great Green Bay Packers. Born on this day, 1934. Born on this day in 1935, Bob Denver. Bob Denver. He was Gilligan from Gilligan's Island. He was so famous, and everybody loved him as Gilligan. Dude couldn't get any other work. Bob Denver was not a happy guy either. Bob Denver, later in his life, and we're talking the 80s and the 90s, Bob Denver had to, he probably made six figures a year going around to fan conventions. And one of the unfortunate realities about 80-year-old Bob Denver was that people wanted to see him dressed as Gilligan. And Bob Denver, I don't think, was always really comfortable with that. I think Bob Denver thought of himself as an actual actor, and he got Gilligan. He got Gilligan so hard, that's now the phrase or the term used in Hollywood when somebody cannot escape a role that has defined them. Gilligan, Bob Denver, smoked a lot of weed. He was a big stoner. He had a line of weed too, didn't he? Like when it started getting legal, wasn't it like Gilligan's, Buds or whatever? I don't know. Didn't seem like a happy man. Bob Denver, Gilligan, born on this day in 1935, died in 2005. Born on this day in 1935, umbilical cousins with Bob Denver, born the exact same day, exact same year. How about NBC sports legend Dick Enberg? Dick Enberg, born on this day in 1935. Born on this day, 9 years later in 1944, the world welcomed one of the greatest guitar players of all time. Is he in the greatest rock band of all time? I don't think so, but a lot of other people do. Happy birthday, Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin. So I've never been a Zeppelin guy. I'm aware of Zeppelin. They're omnipresent. If you grew up when I was growing up, they're everywhere. You hear it at roller rinks. You hear it in the malls. You hear Zeppelin. Somebody's older brother pulls up outside in their Trans Am. They're cranking Trampled Underfoot. Zeppelin was around. I knew Zeppelin. I just never got into Zeppelin. I was never like, Zeppelin, man. I think Zeppelin, to me, when I was coming of age musically, I think Zeppelin represented stoner older brothers. Like, like my friends, like their older brothers, we're all totally into Zeppelin, man. And it was like, yeah, that's not us. So I put up one of those walls against Zeppelin. Now, over time, that wall has eroded a little bit because it's kind of obvious that Zeppelin is an incredibly important band in the history of rock and roll. And whatever my personal bias is about growing up, they don't supersede the fact that Zeppelin is legitimately one of the great rock bands of all time, and that Jimmy Page is one of the great guitar players of all time. Certainly one of the great personalities in rock history. One of the more interesting and curious dudes in rock history. Jimmy Page is a fascinating guy. It's his birthday today. So, long story short about Led Zeppelin, I have in recent months begun to appreciate Led Zeppelin in a way that I never had before. And it happened in the most interesting of ways. Here's how it happened. My 14-year-old son discovered Led Zeppelin. My 14-year-old son is like, Dad, how come you never introduced me to Led Zeppelin? And I'm like, well, it's a long story, but it has to do with stoner older brothers in the 1980s. And he's like, man, they're great. So happy birthday, Jimmy Page. Me and my son are getting into Zeppelin at the same time. Born on this day in 1951, Crystal Gale. She was Loretta Lynn's sister, right? And Crystal Gale had really long hair. Crystal Gale. That's all I got for you. I don't have anything more on Crystal Gale. Other than I think, and I don't claim this but I think that Crystal Gale might be the first concert I ever went to. I think it might be. I was dragged to a concert at Six Flags when I was very young, and I believe it was a Crystal Gale concert. I don't know. I can't be sure. But there is this memory of Crystal Gale somehow being the first concert I ever went to. Thanks, Mom! However, I officially claim Duran Duran as the first concert I ever went to. But the reality is that it might have been Crystal Gale. I was totally taken against my will. I mean, not totally against my will. I think it was at like a Six Flags. So I was there willingly. Maybe attending Crystal Gale was part of the trade-off. I don't know. Not sure. Don't really remember. Sort of remember. Remember long hair. Remember really long Crystal Gale hair. Moving on, Crystal Gale, born on this day in 1951, American singer, songwriter, and producer. Born on this day in 1967. Here's one of them that guys. Okay, now this is a that guy. Sometimes we have these birthdays. He's a that guy actor. You've seen him in a million things. He's everything he does, he's freaking awesome in. David Costabile. Do you guys know who David? Bet that you do. You just don't know the name because he's a that guy actor. David Costabile, first of all, you hear his voice everywhere. He is one of the most prolific voiceover actors. He does everything from butter commercials to car commercials to healthcare commercials. His voice is everywhere. You may have first saw him in Breaking Bad, where he played Gail Bodeker. Remember Gail? Gail was the lab assistant that Gus Fring assigned to work with Bryan Cranston. What was his name? Forgot his name. Heisenberg. I don't know. Whatever his name was. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Let's not get distracted. It's a cool name. Why can't I think of his name? Because you're old. That's why. You're getting old and you can't remember simple characters from Breaking Bad. Anyway, that's where you might remember Gail from. Gail was the dude I guess he got killed, right? Didn't Bryan Cranston. You remember Bryan Cranston, but not the character he played. I can't. Max Duggan. I don't know. It was like a cool name like that. Whatever. Max. So he killed Gail Bodeker. That's where you might originally remember David Costabile. But David Costabile then went on to be in a show called Billions, which was a show on which was a show on Showtime. And he really just became my favorite television character of all time. He is number one in my favorite TV characters of all time. So let me share with you a little bit of David Costabile on his birthday as the character Wags in the television show Billion. Now, here's what you need to know about the character of Wags before we watch a few of his scenes. Wags is a billionaire in his own right, although he works for another billionaire who's a super billionaire. So Wags has a whole lot of money, and he is as debauched an individual as you have ever met. He is what you think you might be if you had $1 billion and could do whatever you wanted. The problem with Wags is this: he's obsessed with money. He wants more money. He doesn't subscribe to that theory that I have about get your bag and go. No, he wants more, more, more. Here's the best of Wags, David Costabile, on his birthday.
Wags. You ever get tired of working for a living?
Every damn day. But I've got a nasty addiction called money, so I do what I do. Showtime, folks. I'm right, because this is the down and dirty. And I happen to be both. I wipe my ass with 8 million. 9 if I've had an acai bowl. Your ego just wrote a check your body can't cash. Fees are religion, and money is his god. I don't want to invest in it. I want to get on it. If I hadn't been very rich, I might have been a really great man. Yo, bitches! Saddle up. Body sushi at the strip joint. On me. We're going clubbing tonight, which you know is my métier. Oh, that's my cue. Give it another 5 or 6 minutes, then finish it off, pig. You're a dear. Good luck with your dissertation. Ah, the fleshlight. The repository for all of the sadness of the male world. My idea was the drinking women and drugs. Perfect balance. An infinite Zen garden. Doing lines off hookers' hip bones, my cell phone in one hand, and golden frog poison. I tried to smoke it once. Shaman jumped across the tent to stop me.
Can you? All right, that's all you need to know about the greatness of Wags. David Costabile celebrating a birthday today. He's awesome. You know that voice. Now you will hear that voice in every commercial. That dude's making big bank just doing voice stuff alone. Then add on top of that, he's one of the finest character actors working today. David Costabile, born on this day in 1967. Born on this day also in 1967. We lost him earlier this year. Steve Harwell, American rock singer. Hey now, he's a dead guy. That's right, he died. Steve Harwell from Hey now, you're an all-star. What band was that? I forgot what band it was. Steve Harwell. Why can't I think of the... Why am I thinking, what's the name of that band? I couldn't think of, I still don't know the name of the character from Breaking Bad. Don't know. Smash Mouth. There you go. I just clicked on something. I cheated that time. Smash Mouth did not come back to me. Steve Harwell, born on this day. Happy birthday. He's dead though. Born on this day in 1967, an umbilical cousin. So we call two people born on the same day, same year. Umbilical cousins with Steve Harwell. How about Dave Matthews? Dave Matthews. Dave Matthews is the favored artist of people who hate music. That's right. I said it. People who hate music but feel social pressure to embrace some music scene, those are the people that like Dave Matthews. You're terrible, terrible people. You're trying to masquerade as normal by pretending to be into something, you know. Oh, I love Dave Matthews. You know, you're doing that, but really you honestly don't like that garbage. You are just playing along. You saw people back in 1998. You saw people and you went, I want to be like those people. And now you've lived your life pretending to be a Dave Matthews fan. Congratulations. There are no actual Dave Matthews fans. He's terrible. He is so self-indulgent. He is so lame. The songs are lame. What would you say? He sucks. I don't have anything personal against him. He might be a wonderful guy. I'm just telling you, Dave Matthews sucks. You want all this nonsense about Nickelback? Dude, I would wait in line to see Nickelback long before I would even consider going to a Dave Matthews show. David, you want to know what my idea of the worst concert ever would be? Dave Matthews and Fish. That's right. And they toured together. Oh, yeah. I remember going, oh, my God. What an awful, awful. Dave Matthews, happy birthday. You are the worst. You are the worst. Dave Matthews, probably a nice guy. I'm just saying, that stuff is so boring. Oh my God. It's so self-indulgent. It's so he's got like 50 guys on stage with him. What are you doing? All right, moving on. Also born in this day, 1968. Is this the last one? Is this the last birthday? Nobody. Wow, look at the millennials. The millennials have contributed nothing to important births on this day. Last one, born on this day in 1968. How about Joey Lauren Adams? Joey Lauren Adams. Do you remember Joey Lauren Adams? Joey Lauren Adams, who was she? She was in a bunch of Kevin Smith movies. She was really cute. Wasn't she Kevin Smith's girlfriend? Wasn't that it? Chasing Amy. She was chasing Amy. She probably established herself as like a Gen X icon by playing the hot lesbian Amy in Chasing Amy, because it was like the first time. Don't younger people, don't at me about, wow, what do you mean? It was like the first time that a mainstream movie that, a bunch of like normal mainstream Gen Xers went to go see and saw as something that was, certainly spot on as far as the depiction of their generation and their lifestyle. It was the first time that we saw a girl be a lesbian who was like really hot and really cute. And it made us go, Chasing Amy, Joey Lauren Adams. Mallrats. She was also in Mallrats. She was like the super cute girl in Mallrats. Wonder whatever happened to her. I don't know. Obviously, she turned 40 and Hollywood went, yeah, nah, we're going to move on. We've got new Joey Lauren Adams. Happy birthday, Joey Lauren Adams. Hope she's not dead or anything. Nah, she's not. All right, deads. Let's talk about the deads. This is quarter 3. These are the people who have died. These are the people who have died. We take a look at their lives. We open it up. We decide heaven or hell. Dead on this day in 1995. Brilliant British comedian. Peter Cook. Do you know who Peter Cook is? Probably not. Peter Cook is the reason we had a Dudley Moore. Remember Dudley Moore? Remember Dudley Moore became really famous? Dudley Moore became really famous after he broke away from Peter Cook. Cook and Moore, Dudley and Peter, I don't know what they were known as, but they were big on British TV. Peter Cook, you'd know him if you saw him. You'd know him if you saw him, but he's probably going to hell because I don't know. He's an actor, Peter Cook, comedic actor from Britain. He's going to hell. Dead on this day in 1997. This guy's going to heaven. We're putting this guy in heaven preemptively. Why? Because Jesse White died on this day in 1997. Who's Jesse White, you may ask? The Maytag repairman. Remember that sad old man? Our whole childhood, he's like, nobody calls me because the machines don't break down. That was the commercial. That was the whole premise of the Maytag commercials. The Maytag repairman. He was there. He was sad, and you felt bad for him because nobody's Maytags broke down, and that's apparently all he could work on were Maytag machines. He couldn't take calls from Whirlpool or anything like that. He was just strictly Maytag. So he's going to heaven because he was sad. In my whole life watching him, I was like, that guy's sad. He's a sad old man. Jesse White, the Maytag repairman, died on this day in 1997. Dead on this day in 2015, Roy Tarpley. Roy Tarpley probably going to hell. Got to be honest with you. Roy Tarpley, banned from the NBA for but he was troubled, man. Roy Tarpley, where did he play? Michigan, right? Michigan in the 80s. He was a hell of a player. Drafted first round by the Mavs. He was predominantly a Mav, Roy Tarpley. He won some awards. I think he won a Sixth Man of the Year. I don't know if he was Rookie of the Year, but he was a good player. And then he got a bunch of DUIs. He was a drinker. The problem with Roy Tarpley was that he was an alcoholic. And he got 3 DUIs over the course of a 2-year period, and the league banned him, and he went over and he played in Europe for 15 years, and then he died. Roy Tarpley died on this day in 2015, and unfortunately, he's probably going to hell. He's probably made some terrible decisions, and yeah. Dead on this day in 2022. We're preemptively putting this person in hell too. This person's going to hell because this person wants to go to hell and deserves to go to hell. If you've ever heard any of Bob Saget's non-Full House comedy, you know what I'm talking about. Bob Saget died on this day. Bob Saget died. It was a Sunday, right? Or I don't felt like it was over a weekend when he died. In that man, do we know how he died? It's a year later. Should we look and see what the official reason for his death is? Because there was all kinds of, he was killed by the Illuminati because he was I don't know. I don't know if they killed him because he was a pedophile or because you know what I mean? These stories all come out. At around 4 p.m. Eastern on January the 9th, 2022, Saget was found dead in his room at a Ritz-Carlton hotel near Williamsburg in Orange County, Florida. At the time of his death, Saget was on a stand-up tour and had performed in Ponte Vedra Beach the previous evening. His funeral took place on January 14th, and he was buried at Mount Sinai Memorial Park Cemetery near the graves of his parents and sister. An autopsy report released in February found that Saget had blunt head trauma from an accidental blow to the back of his head, most likely from a fall, and had subsequently died from the resulting injuries in his sleep. He was infected with COVID-19 at the time, though there was no sign that it played a role in his death. On February 15th, Saget's family sued to prevent county officials from releasing additional documents from investigating his death, arguing that their graphic content would present privacy violations. On March 14th, a permanent injunction was issued against releasing the documents. Okay. So he was found dead in his sleep, and there was some embarrassing stuff. And his family was like, yeah, you can't release the details. What is that embarrassing stuff? I don't know. We're human beings, so we begin to speculate instinctively. Drugs, sex toys, a full block of porn playing on the TV. I don't know what it is. Anyway, Bob Saget, he's going to hell, of course, because Bob Saget, was pretty dark mind. if you heard any of his stand-up comedy, again, the non-Full House related comedy, he was a pretty dark dude, a great comic, a very funny guy. Bob Saget, dead on this day in 2022. All right, now let's move on to, quarter four. Yeah, let's get into quarter four. Quarter four is when we say, say thank you to our executive producer, Mike D, as we embark on learning all about the headlines and the big stories of today. Now, there is a big story that is percolating, but I don't know if it's a big story yet. So let me quickly see. As we signed on today, I was like, is this going to be what we're going to lead off with? Okay, so we still do not have any breaking news on that story. All right. So let's move forward. Israel is the top story of the day, of the year, of the everything. Israel, again, I tell you, if you want beat by beat breakdowns of all the stuff that's happening in Israel, go elsewhere. But they are reestablishing parameters in Cairo, Egypt, as we speak, to reopen negotiations for the hostages that remain in Gaza. If you remember, there was a deal in place, and hostages were being exchanged, and kidnapped Israeli citizens were being released from Gaza. And then there was an incident involving the Israeli military and a bunch of dead Gaza people. God, I shouldn't laugh. It's nervous laughter. It is not any attempt to marginalize that horror. It is an attempt to just kind of stop myself from thinking about how dark the world is. And that's where that comes from. That's why I laugh nervously when talking about terrible things. Certainly isn't because I think it's funny, just a coping mechanism. So the hostage talks all broke down. That's well over a month now. They've done nothing, but they are reopening the negotiations. Blinken is in Cairo, and the Israelis and, I don't know, Yemeni people, I don't know, they're sitting down. So maybe we'll get some hostage dealings here in the next couple of days. One can hope. The big story locally and also nationally to some extent was the building that exploded. The Sandman Hotel in Fort Worth blowed up real good last night. Actually, I shouldn't make light of it. People were injured. Nothing really all that bad. Nobody died. I believe one person is in critical condition. I shouldn't say that's, well, I should minimize it. It's a terrible thing. We're thinking gas. There's this old, like 1920s kick-ass hotel in downtown Fort Worth, the Sandman. It was recently repurchased and rehabbed, and it's a nice place. It's a nice downtown Fort Worth hotel. This ain't one of them, transient joints that you see, just southwest of the convention center. No, this is by the way, I am enjoying. Let me establish, I think I've been clear throughout my time in this town. I love Fort Worth. I think Fort Worth is so awesome. I would love to live in Fort Worth. And there is nothing that I would like more than to see Fort Worth Fort Worth has always had these flare-ups, where you're like, oh, cool stuff is happening in Fort Worth. And then it just kind of, but like, to hear the national coverage of it occurred in an extremely busy part of downtown Fort Worth, just a block from the convention center. That's not downtown Fort Worth. Go Google map that. Go drive around Houston Street, 8th and Houston. Go look at the Sandman Hotel. Then just do that 360 view of downtown Fort Worth. Nothing is open. Last night, when this was occurring, James Parker, who, by the way, does his show following us right here on WBAP 93.3 on your FM dial. I'll be over there hanging out in the chat room. Saw some of you in there yesterday. This story began to break on James's show about 4:00 yesterday. So I immediately went into like producer mode, and I started, like, he was talking about how they had people that they were sending to the scene, but knowing Fort Worth and Dallas, it was going to take them a while to get there. So what I started doing was I started looking around the Sandman. I started looking around the hotel for businesses. What's across the street? Because, I sent James in the chat room. I said, there's a FedEx across the street. Here's the number. Call them. Call the people. Let's see who answers and interview them about what just occurred. So then, producer mode, I'm doing that. I was looking for backups. There were no backups. There was no other businesses within like 2 blocks that were open. Everything was closed. Everything. I'm driving around on Google Maps and I see like a business right kitty corner from where this explosion occurred. I click on it and it says permanently closed. The hell is happening in downtown Fort Worth? This hotel was beautiful. And it's like a ghost town around it. So that's one. That's what I want changed. I want Fort Worth's downtown area to be bustling. Now, granted, exploding boutique hotels don't help, but okay, let's find out what the story is. Excuse me. Let's see. Explosion at historic Texas hotel injures 21 and scatters debris in downtown Fort Worth. Let's see. An explosion at a historic Texas hotel. You've never heard of this hotel before. I've never heard of this hotel before. But if you're in, Boston, and you don't know anything about it, you're now telling your friends, oh, it was at a historic, it's a famous hotel. Everybody in North Texas knows that hotel. See, everything's presented so weird. An explosion at a historic Texas hotel in Fort Worth on Monday blew out windows. See, they added historic Texas hotel because it makes their story more important. That's dishonest journalism. Okay, I guess it's historic. The leaps that we make when we hear historic lead us to think, did Queen Elizabeth stay there? No. I was really bummed out with downtown Fort Worth because I love downtown Fort Worth. It looks like it could be such a cool place to live if there was a bustling community. It's not a bustling community. It's like there's nothing. The blast flung doors and entire sections of walls onto the road in front of the 20-story hotel where authorities said rescue crews where several people were trapped, blah, blah, blah. 15 people were taken to hospitals, including 6 whose conditions were described as semi-critical. Okay, which provides ambulances and emergencies. MedStar said that, semi-critical. So here's the thing, okay? It's terrible. Any of us who live in a structure that gets gas pumped into it, this is, but for the grace of God, I guess. I don't know. I don't understand how gas works. But that's what this is. They smelled gas. They were working on the restaurant. There's an Asian fusion restaurant there, I guess, in the lobby. Another restaurant in downtown Fort Worth that's not open yet. And I guess they believe that they're due to some construction that was occurring there at the restaurant that the gas leaked and something went ba-boom. Here, we've got some pictures of it. I'm sure we've all seen it, especially if we're here in the North Texas area, but why not? We'll just scroll through the page. I think I pulled up just the random. Oh, boy. Hold on. Hold on a second. All right. All right, let's look at some of these. I'll just pull up the Fort Worth page. Let's see what we got. Boom, boom, boom. Let's watch some videos. Some Twitter videos, if you will. Let's see here. Okay, so here's the scene out front. Let's look at this.
So what was it? Was it that apartment?
Look at that. these poor people. They got out. They went through hell. That's another thing I love about Fort Worth cops. I love that they wear cowboy hats. That's such a badass thing to do, Texas cops. Black cowboy hats. Downtown Fort Worth is so beautiful. I wish people would go there.
Look on the other side of the street. Something out part of that building is blown out.
Yeah, and blew out this. Just
No, on the other side on that street, there's shit blown out too.
Some people from a nearby office. We're looking at the back here. This is the back parking area of the Sandman Hotel. I believe that's this parking lot.
There's somebody sitting down next to the street light down here too.
This parking lot runs up to Throckmorton. So I guess it's on 8th Street between Throckmorton and Houston in downtown Fort Worth, literally right next to the convention center where we've all been. All right, there you have it. So no deaths, thankfully. Just like I said, we all have gas coming into our thing. Be careful, you got to smell that gas. Gas doesn't smell, right? Isn't that the other thing? It doesn't smell. It's like an additive that is put into the lines that make it smell so that you can go, oh boy, that stuff is leaking. Here's what I love. Fort Worth Fire Department yesterday at about 5 o'clock, 5:15 or so, they gave their first press conference from the scene. And they addressed the fact that downtown Fort Worth smelled like gas. They said that, yes, it is obvious that everything in downtown Fort Worth currently smells like gas. And then he said one of the most honest, but also unnerving things I've ever heard a person in authority say in one of these moments. This was a press conference about a building that just blew up, and everybody's wondering why it still smells like gas. And the fire department guy says, he goes, yes, we are aware that the downtown area of Fort Worth still smells like gas. We do not know if that is a result of the explosion or what caused the explosion. I'm like, okay. So what you just told the people of Fort Worth is it smells like gas and you don't know what that means. Unnerving. It's like you want this, but I don't know if that's, I don't know if they're trained. It seems to me they might want to be trained to like not leave that kind of an open-ended thing. But yeah, he basically said, yeah, it smells like gas. We don't know if it smells like gas because of the explosion or if it smells like gas and that's why the explosion. It smells like gas in downtown Fort Worth and we don't know why. Woo. All right. How about this? Some new Epstein stuff came out. It's pretty damning, and it mentions, and I feel free to talk about this. I've been avoiding some of the more partisan Epstein stories, but this one comes out, and it's bad for both Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. So I feel like we can talk about it. I feel like this is equal ground. Now, apparently another one of Epstein's victims, a girl by the name of, is it Sarah Ransom, I believe it is. He was one of these underage, teenage, sex trafficked girls who brought a case against him in Minnesota. She said some things. And she gave some details and she gave some very specific times and places. Now, all of what she says has been not allowed to be seen, right? It's because a lot of stuff that's not allowed to be seen. She said some stuff. Now, she also recanted the stuff that she said. So I want to read the recantation first, and then we'll go through what it was that she said originally, okay? But I want to make sure before we get into this for, purely, non-divisive reasons, I want to read the recantation. Then we'll get into what she said Donald Trump and Bill Clinton were into. Here's her recantation. This is, again, is it Sarah Rancone? Yeah, Sarah Rancone. Ransom, like ransom. Okay. She says, I shouldn't have contacted you. This is her reaching out to the journalist who she originally told all these things to. She told the journalist all these things, and she said, go ahead, print it. And then, after thinking about it, she wrote this note back to the journalist recanting all that she said. And because this person turns out was a good journalist, if the source of your crazy claims then recants them, you can't publish. No matter how much you want the clicks, no matter how much you want, you can't publish. And this journalist didn't publish. This journalist adhered to what Sarah Ransom said. So here's her recantation. I shouldn't have contacted you, and I'm sorry I wasted your time. It's not worth coming forward, and I will never be heard anyhow. And only bad things will happen as a consequence of me going public. And I know this to be true. And then it goes on to say, in 2019, Ransom told the New Yorker that the tapes that she claimed to know of were made up. The fabrication of the story was intended to raise intrigue into Epstein's affairs and to convince the financier himself that she had evidence that would come out if he harmed her. Okay, so let's get into why she says she did what she did. She gave this interview to this journalist where she named all these names and said that she knows of the existence of these tapes that Epstein apparently made. She said this to the journalist in the hopes that it would get out there because this girl, Sarah Ransom, was afraid that Jeffrey Epstein would, harm her because of what she knows. So again, let's take this step by step. She created this story because she thought she would be harmed by Epstein. Well, if the story isn't true and there's nothing to it, and there's no way that she could actually know of the existence of these tapes, then Epstein would have heard her tell this story and gone, well, she can't prove that. That's not true. So the very idea that Epstein acknowledged that she needed to be shut up, which is what she was afraid of, suggests to me that there might actually be tapes. She is now saying that, no, she doesn't know of any tapes. She said she knew of tapes, and she says she knew of tapes because she wanted to send a shot across the bow of Epstein to leave me alone because I will talk. But if she was making it all up and there was nothing for her to actually talk about, then why would she be even slightly afraid of Epstein's reprisals? She had to have known. There has to be some truth that there is something here, and this girl was afraid. And she goes on to say, I shouldn't have contacted you. This is all in her. This is the sketchiest recantation ever. I shouldn't have contacted you, and I'm sorry I wasted your time. It's not worth coming forward, and I will never be heard anyhow. And only bad things will happen as a consequence of me going public with what I know to be true. So she's recanting, but she's not saying it's not true. She's saying, I know this to be true. And you know what? I don't want it out there. So it's not a recantation that I made it up. It's a recantation of, I don't want to take the heat for what comes next after this is public. So that's why for years and years, we had no idea of these stories. But now, because of these Epstein documents being released, we now have the story. All right, now here's the story. This is what Sarah Ransom told a journalist for the New Yorker back in 2019, only to recant because she appears to be frightened. Epstein victim claimed Trump had sex at pedophile's mansion, and Clinton was also caught on tape. Then she recanted everything. She goes on to say, only bad things will happen as a consequence of me going public, and I know this to be true, the victim said when she recanted her claims. Again, that's not a recantation. That's not a, what I told you isn't true. No, what she is doing is, what I told you is so true that it's not worth coming out because people will kill me. That was her recantation. It's not the same thing, but because she said this happened and now I'm not going to stand by it, you can't move forward with that. She's not going to go up on a stand if she's saying she's not going to support it. All right, so here's the story. Former President Donald Trump regularly had sex with a woman at Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan mansion, and Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, well, we knew about Prince Andrew, and Richard Branson, there's another one, were also caught on sex tape by the financier. This according to emails allegedly written by an Epstein victim who later recanted her claims. The allegations were made by Sarah Ransom to a journalist and unsealed in a newly public court documents this week. The allegations were made by Sarah Ransom to a journalist and unsealed this week. The documents were part of a filing in which lawyers for law professor Alan Dershowitz sought to portray Ransom as a liar who contradicted herself and made outlandish claims. Ransom later gave a victim impact statement in federal court at Epstein's co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell's sentencing. in which she described being trafficked by the pair. In one undated email released Monday, Ransom alleged that a friend described Trump's sexual proclivities and alleged the woman regularly had sex with the former president at Epstein's Upper East Side townhouse, according to documents. She confided in me about her casual friendship with Donald. Mr. Trump definitely seemed to have a thing for her, and she told me how he kept going on about how he liked her pert nipples, Ransom wrote. Boy. I also know she had sexual relations with Trump at Jeffrey's New York mansion on regular occasions, as I once met Jen for coffee just before she was going to meet Trump and Epstein together at his mansion. Ransom later recanted the allegations in an email to journalist Maureen Callahan. Here's her full recantation. I have spoken to my family at some length this morning, and I would like to retract everything I have said to you and walk away from this. I shouldn't have contacted you, and I'm sorry I wasted your time. It's not worth coming forward, and I will never be heard anyhow, and only bad things will happen as a consequence of me going public, and I know this to be true. These baseless accusations have been fully so here's a Trump spokesperson about this claim. This morning, this Trump spokesperson said, these baseless accusations have been fully retracted because they are simply false and have no merit, said Stephen Chung. In another undated email, Ransom allegedly claimed her friends had sex with Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, and billionaire Richard Branson. And video recordings of the trysts were made by Epstein at his mansion. She says, this is what she said before she recanted, I personally can confirm that I have with my own eyes seen the evidence of these sexual acts, which clearly identifies Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, and Richard Branson having sexual intercourse with my friend. I will be more willing to swear under oath and testify in court over these sex tapes, Ransom said, according to reports. In 2019, she told The New Yorker that the tapes were made up. The fabrication was intended to raise intrigue into Epstein's affairs and to convince the financier himself that she had evidence that would come out if he harmed me, she said. So again, she's trying to convince Epstein that she has evidence. If there was no evidence, and if this is all bullshit, then Epstein would be like, there's no evidence. This isn't true. So the fact that she felt she needed to hold Epstein off by claiming she had proof, and that was something that Epstein would be, okay, I don't want this. That tells me that there might be some truth to this. We certainly know that he's a pedophile. What we don't know is what is the extent of this network that he seemed to have been sponsoring, or at the very least managing. Ransom's emails were included in a 2017 motion filed by Dershowitz to keep the allegations under seal. He contended that allegations were deliberate lies. Okay, so this was all quieted down. The reason we don't know anything about it is because of Dershowitz and the lawyers, and then she recanted. So, I don't know. Drips and drabs. That's what we're going to get on this. I'm telling you, the most damning thing that I have seen in this whole, and this is just to be fair, because this story today is about Trump. Here's the other thing about that, though. Let's be careful about making assumptions that this was with an underage girl. I mean, I know we assume that because that's all he was in. No, he may have she might have been 18. She might have been 19. We don't know. Here, Jesus, this is the one thing that I have been able to piece together from watching this story is that Epstein wasn't into children. Okay. He doesn't seem to have been into 5-year-olds. Okay. Which he's a monster. Of course, he's a monster. He's a predator. He's a gross guy. But these all seem to be post-pubescent teen girls that he was into. You know, the high school aged girls, that kind of a thing. And some of them were older. I mean, some of these women, they've been revealed to be older. They were, I mean, you know, like 18, 19. Not all of them were necessarily under 17 or whatever the legal thing is. I've never had to concern myself with what the official legal age is. It's not a concern of mine. But she doesn't say that any of these girls, this girl, her friend Jen, who she speaks of, who she says had this, long ongoing relationship with Trump, and Trump thought she had pert nipples. Jen, she doesn't say Jen was underage. Nothing in this says Jen was underage. And I think that if she were underage, they would say it. They would make sure another underage. So they're specific. It's like you can almost tell that. Like, they didn't go out of their way to say she was legal age because they know that the assumption of the reader, we're reading about Epstein, the assumption is, the default setting is that they're not of legal age. I don't know. Anyway, developing ... as they say. Also, there's another Trump legal thing that's going on today. He's apparently, I don't know. We're waiting to hear what the court says. He's saying, I don't know. He went to court and he said something like, I should be able to do whatever because I'm president. And now the judges are like, is that true? Do we have to? So that's what we're waiting on. We're waiting to hear. I don't know. It's, again, you want this kind of political bullshit. There are plenty of other places you can go. We don't care about it here. Michigan, University of Michigan. The Wolverines won a national football championship last night. Good for them. Go Big Ten. Hey! I like Michigan. I dig Michigan. I got no problem with Michigan. I'm a Big Ten guy. I was rooting for Michigan. I'm glad they won. I'm glad Harbaugh won. He's got himself a title now. Maybe he stopped being so damn much. Jim Harbaugh is a lot. There was a nice scene last night. Did you see when John Harbaugh, his brother, showed up on the sideline? I loved that. Just felt really good. I love that these two guys are actual brothers and they don't have this like weird, competitive thing where like they hate each other. They support each. John Harbaugh is, of course, the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, who I very well think are going to win a World Series of football. Oh, if you listen to Kelly and my Practical Pick segment, it's a podcast that we do where Kelly picks the weekend football games based on nothing more than what mascot she thinks can beat up what mascot. If you listen to that, you'll know that in this latest episode, we've renamed the Super Bowl. We've renamed it the World Series of Football because the Super Bowl, you can't say the Super Bowl. Like we can't talk about the Super Bowl on that podcast that I do with Kelly. It'll get flagged or something because the Super Bowl is trademarked. That's why whenever you hear like radio stations or TVs or bars or whatever doing a Super Bowl party, they don't call it a Super Bowl party. They call it a big game party because, yeah, if you call it a Super Bowl party, now you got to pay the Super Bowl people because it's all trademarked, and boy, oh boy, do they enforce that shit. So Kelly and I were joking. We decided we're going to call it the World Series of Football. That's what we're calling the Super Bowl from now on. Jim Harbaugh won the World Series of college football last night. Washington Huskies were not enough for the Michigan Wolverines. Wasn't really close. It was Michael Penix. Boy, oh boy, he certainly didn't have the game that he had against Texas, huh? Michael Penix did not look like he's probably going to be the third quarterback taken. I don't know about that. J.J. McCarthy will probably be taken before Michael Penix. I don't think he's a first-round guy. He's 25 years old. He's got bad knees. He's going to be second round. I take Michael Penix in the second round. Anyway, how about J.J. McCarthy? He's the Michigan quarterback. Harbaugh calls him the greatest quarterback in Michigan history. That's an interesting statement when you consider a guy named Tom Brady played for Michigan. But hey, Jim Harbaugh might know. So now the big question is, what does Jim Harbaugh do from this point forward? Jim Harbaugh, they got a deal on the table there at Michigan for I think it's like $1 billion a year and access to all of the uranium on the planet Mars. I think that's the deal that Michigan is currently offering Jim Harbaugh to stay. However, the NCAA, they've been dicking Jim Harbaugh around, and there's going to be, after this season, there's going to be some kind of reprisals for the cheating scandal that Michigan was wrapped up in this year. Yes, Michigan football won a national championship, and yes, their head coach, Jim Harbaugh, was suspended for a number of games this year for some egregious cheating. If you're unfamiliar with the Michigan cheating scandal, you need to look it up. It is funny. Jim Harbaugh is funny. Jim Harbaugh's hysterical. He's a little much. Like, if you're in Jim Harbaugh's world, you're in Jim Harbaugh's world. You don't count. He is, he sucks the oxygen out of every room that he's in. So the problem is that now that he's got his title in college football, now that he's done what he said when he went to Michigan, he said, we're going to beat Ohio State, and he's done that now. We're going to beat Ohio State, and we're going to win a national championship. He's done both of those things. He doesn't need to go back next year and deal with, lost scholarships or, maybe a couple games or whatever the deal, whatever it is, the NCAA is going to come down. Now, the people at Michigan, they want him back. So they're offering him the world. They're offering him like crazy. He ain't coming back, though. He's going to go. Here's what I think. A lot of people believe that it's between the Raiders and the Bears. I don't know why it would be between the Raiders. I have no idea what the connection there is. The Bears connection is pretty obvious. The Bears president is Kevin Warren, who was president of the Big Ten, who has a long relationship of dealing with Jim Harbaugh, although not always good. People think that the president of the Bears, formerly leading the Big Ten and having some very well-documented run-ins with Jim Harbaugh is a bad thing. Other people say, no, it's a good thing. Chicago Bears are who drafted Jim Harbaugh out of Michigan. He was the quarterback for the Chicago Bears for the first 6-7 years of his career. The Hallis family, the Hallis-McCaskey family has apparently always been. So people think that he's going to go to the Bears. He ain't going to the Bears. Jim Harbaugh is not coming to the Bears. He ain't going to the Raiders either. I'll tell you where he's going, and this is because I saw an interview with his wife. He's going to L.A. He's going to be the new head coach of the Chargers. That's where Jim Harbaugh is going. His wife wants to live in California. Anyway, there you have it. Michigan is the new national champion of the college football game. They won the World Series of college football last night, and it was an all right game. It was okay. It was it wasn't a great game. It pretty much seemed like it was going to be Michigan's game to lose the whole time. I mean, Michigan, what was that running back they had? The dude rattled off 2 50-yard runs in the first quarter. I'm like, is this guy over 100 yards in the first quarter? It's crazy. Good game. All right, so here's another crazy thing that's happening in the world, and I don't know how to explain this, but this was not trolling. It was trending all over. Here, let me move it. It was all over the socials last night, to the point where I'm like, why is everybody talking about this? What is this? What is going on here? So, guys, I'm gonna try and explain this story, but here we'll watch. We'll just scroll through this page. So in Brooklyn, there is a what do they call them? I don't know. What do they call them? A temple, a Jewish temple for the hardcore Jewish people with, the hats, and they wear the same outfits, the black coats and the white shirts, and they got curls. Orthodox Jews. Well, there's different degrees of Orthodox Jews, and apparently these ones are Hasidic Orthodox Jews. I don't know. Let me see here. All right, yeah, we'll show this one. All right, so there's this Jewish temple in Brooklyn, and apparently, taking this down. I don't know what's going on with this story. So there's a Jewish temple in Brooklyn, and they found all these tunnels underneath it, and the city is coming in to fill in the tunnels with concrete. And then last night, a bunch of the Orthodox Jewish dudes, you see them all in their black suits. They all showed up, and a riot started because they want them to stop filling in the tunnels. It's the weirdest damn thing. I don't know what's going on. Why? No one is saying why there are tunnels underneath this. Here, let's watch this. Well, what are they doing here? Hold on. So here are all these dudes. They all kind of look the same. The temple now, and they're finding all of these different passageways, and I guess the guy who runs the temple is yeah, fill them in. We don't use them. But then a whole bunch of people are no, we use what's going on? What is the story with these tunnels? I don't get it. I don't get why it's such a big deal. All right, let's see here. What do we keep? Let's see if we got any more. There's this one funny thing of this dude just crawling out of a manhole in the street. It's so weird. Wait, is this him? Yeah, here it is. All right, is this it? Hold on, let's see what this is. All right, so that's an example of the street out in front. How it's all tunnels under there, and they never knew it. Hold There's more of that. I want to find the video of the dude poking his head out. Okay, this dude coming out of the tunnels. This guy, what is going on here? All right, so this dude apparently emerges from the tunnels. He gets arrested. Down there in those tunnels. Dude, oh, this is the guy. He just comes out of the street. He's like, yeah, I've been living down there. Yo. They're destroying their temple. I don't know what this story is about, you guys. I have no idea what's going on here. So let's see if we can figure this out. All right, this comes from, let's see here. What newspaper is this? Metro. All right, this is out of New York. Secret synagogue tunnels are causing chaos in New York. What's really going on? Well, that's what I would like to know. It says here, when tunnels were discovered in December at the Chabad Lubavitch World Headquarters in Brooklyn, the synagogue's leaders called in construction crews to flood them with concrete. All right, so in December, they discovered all of these tunnels, this tunnel system underneath their world headquarters of the Shabbat. I don't know. I'm trying to be respectful. I don't know anything about this. I'm Catholic. I'm barely Catholic. I was raised Catholic. But a group of Chabad Lubavitch students in their teens and early 20s gathered at the building on Monday afternoon in an attempt to protect the hidden passageways. Videos from the scene captured Orthodox men vandalizing a cement truck that had begun to pump cement into the tunnels. Others were seen entering the building and tearing up wood paneling, revealing a network of pathways beneath the temple. Several of the men ran into the tunnels to stop them from being filled, while one used a hammer to smash. I don't know what's going on here. So they found tunnels. They're like, hey, that's weird. We should probably fill those in. So the construction crews came to fill them in. And then a whole bunch of young people were like, you can't fill the tunnels in. Why? Nobody's saying why. Footage went viral on Twitter. X, they want me to call it. I'll still call it Twitter. Footage went viral on Twitter. A showdown between police and a crowd of Orthodox Jewish men inside the building had amassed more than 5 million views. In the clip, 3 men stand inside the tunnel with one casually sipping a drink. Social media users expressed their confusion at the scene, with many asking, what is going on here? Yes, I have no idea, but it's a big story. It's a big story. Again, here's what we know about this story. They found tunnels under a Orthodox Jewish building in Brooklyn. The person who is in charge of the Orthodox Jewish building said, let's fill those tunnels in with cement. And then a whole bunch of 20-something Jewish Orthodox parishioners, I don't know, congregants, I don't know what they're called, showed up and started tearing the place apart, revealing that it's like all, what is this about? It's like secret Illuminati. Now, that is the right way. I've seen some of the crazy, because I follow a couple crazy right-wing people just to get to they're saying that, oh, they've discovered the lair of the Illuminati. I'm sure they did. I'm sure this just wasn't some sort of like illegal bootlegging place, something that they would just moved stuff. Something's going on. You don't have tunnels underneath old buildings in big cities. Well, actually, it's not true. In Chicago, everything in Chicago where I come from has an underground tunnel. Like all the buildings are connected. It's actually pretty great. And it's done that way because, well, sometimes there's like 4 straight months where it's like, 5 degrees outside with winds whipping. So you don't really want to have to go outside. And if you need to walk a couple of blocks away, it's just nice to be able to walk through underground tunnels. But those tunnels are called the Pedway. And they're lit up and they're like a shopping mall. There's stores and, there's bathrooms. I mean, it's not like this. This is like some kind of, like the tunnels in Gaza. Anyway, I don't know what's going on with that story, but maybe there's more to be revealed today. We shall see. We shall see. All right, moving on. All right, the Chabad tunnels. We did that. What else? Come on. Hold on. Sorry. Okay, we got this guy now. Is this okay, this dude. Yeah, I guess I'll show you this one as well. Why not? Okay, remember this guy? This guy from just over the weekend, I think. Hold on, look at you. Get you a look at this guy. He's we're gonna call him 2024's Judge Jumper. Of course, we know this guy. There he is. All right. So watch what he did. He was being sentenced. Let's start it over. All right, so here you go. Here's the judge. We all saw this. Judge is passing sentence on this guy.
I just can't with that history. In accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada, this court...
There he goes. And look at him. He goes over. He tries to tackle the judge. And we all know about that guy. He's big. We like him. I'm telling you, 2024 is up. Here's what he had to go back in court. He had to go back in court yesterday, and he had to go back in front of that same judge because the thing that was happening when he jumped the judge didn't conclude. It hadn't officially had, so he had to go back. He had to be sentenced again. And when they brought him back in the court this time, they Hannibal Lectered him out. He was like, he had the mask. He was all here. I think we got a picture of it. Let's see if we can see him. Yeah, he did like a whole Hannibal Lecter kind of a deal. So, boom. I don't even know this guy's name. I could give you his name, but why? What's the point? Why would see? Look at him. There he is. Oh, damn it. They got him in shackles. I'll show it to you like this, even though I'm probably going to get a pop-up. Yeah, definitely. All right, here he is. This is what he looks like. Huh, okay. That didn't work. Let's try this. There we go. Let's try it again. All right, there he is. So they brought him in there all Hannibal Lectered out. He wasn't on a dolly. That would have been a nice choice. They'd put him on a dolly. Like, remember they wheeled Hannibal Lecter in, but he's got the mask and all that stuff. All right, so this guy, he was back in court. He got his sentencing done. 2024, man, we've already got some rock stars. 2024 has already given us 3 very fascinating individuals that we've got, boy, whole year of hijinks from these guys, maybe now that they're famous. We got the Judge Jumper. Remember that guy? The guy who jumped over? He's 2024 famous. We've got the Bass Pro Shop guy. Remember naked guy with the tiny pee-pee who jumped in the water and he's like, I'm crazy. That guy's awesome. But are you familiar with this other guy? There's another guy who is 2024 famous, and he is every bit as spectacular as the Bass Pro Shop swimmer and the judge guy, the guy who jumped the judge. Let me show you who this guy is. All right. He is being known online as Connor in the Urn. Now, I'm not sure you're familiar with. Have you ever heard of Connor in the Urn? So Connor, apparently, as one of the things said, this was a New Year's Eve party. It's a New Year's Eve party among a whole bunch of rich people. There's a bunch of rich young people having a fancy New Year's Eve party. And Connor is one of these, I imagine, I don't know enough about him. I look forward to learning all I can about Connor. Connor appears to be the dimwit of some titan of industry. This is probably some Connecticut backyard New Year's Eve party for rich private school people. You know, that's what this is. And Connor gets wacky. Connor decides that he's going to try and fit his entire body into a giant urn. You know what an urn is? That's where grandma's ashes are kept. So Connor in the Urn is making the rounds because Connor gets stuck in the urn. And he doesn't handle it well. He's trying to be cool about it, but he also realized, here, let's watch Connor in the Urn. This is my favorite thing of 2024 so far. So there you see old Connor. Look at him. He's stuck. He can't get out. Let's watch.
All the fire department break this motherfucker. Connor, this is an HR issue, honey. All the fire department break this motherfucker.
Okay. So the first thing that we hear from Connor is he's imploring the other people at the party to call the fire department right now because he ain't getting out because he is stuck. Connor got wacky. Connor's the life of the party. Connor is an endless source of embarrassment for his father, who sits on the board of many Fortune 500 companies. And this is just idiots.
Connor, this is an HR issue.
You can't get out.
Oh, God damn it.
I'm stuck.
You're not going to be able to get out.
I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I take it back. Maybe Connor's not Connecticut. This seems very Highland Park. This seems like the kind of thing that could happen in a backyard party in this neighborhood. These rich, pampered. He's getting wet. He's stuck. It's grandma's urn. He's stuck.
Y'all gonna have to find a fucking hammer.
We'll get you out. We are not breaking the
I'll
pipe.
give a damn who you
No,
are.
we're gonna get you out.
You're gonna sleep in the
This is so humiliating. To a person with shame, this would be humiliating. I don't know that Connor has shame. I think that this is just how little he is. Okay, so finally, it decided to break the earth. It was chiseling away at Grandma's urn because Connor got stuck in it.
all the fire department.
I'm sorry. Oh, people bring me just endless joy. Connor in the urn. All right, so we got Connor in the urn, we got the Judge Jumper, and we got the Bass Pro Shop Skinny Dipper. Those are the three big rock stars so far of 2024. Plenty of room for more. We never know who's going to get instant famous. You know what? I don't want to do this story. I hate this story. This story's so stupid. So you know about the Miami alien story? Ugh, God. All right. So over the weekend, there was a massive police response in Miami Beach to an incident that occurred at one of the malls down there in Miami. A bunch of teenagers, like hundreds of them, they did one of these wilding things and they started going crazy at a shopping mall. And apparently the initial wave of security responding to these teenagers being all crazy, the initial wave was met by not gunfire, but fireworks fire. These teenagers started shooting fireworks. This received, it jacked it up because all of a sudden, and remember, that fireworks are explosives. So now we're at a mall and there's 100 kids and they've all got explosives, right? That's fireworks, but the explosives is what the police heard. So one of the largest police responses in the history of South Florida occurred on Friday. Hundreds and hundreds of police vehicles descended upon this mall. It was crazy. People, there was viral video all over of all the here. We'll show you some. We'll show you what it looks like. Anyway, shortly after this began, some stories began circulating about what this really was about. And then, of course, the weirdos and the QAnon people. It was an alien invasion, and the aliens had landed at this mall. And this is the police response. And you're not going to hear this on the real news, but the aliens are here. So anyway, let me show you this picture. Let's get. Oh, I hate these damn pop-ups. All right, so I think there, maybe you can see some of the police response. Let me see if there's any better pictures here. What is this? All right, let's play this video. Maybe a video give us something.
The power of one
sure, it's
small
gonna give us
action,
13
one
seconds of an ad.
or one phone call
That's
can make a
fun.
difference in the life of a
Yeah,
veteran going through a difficult time. For free
There's only 5
24/7
seconds left
confidential
of the ad
support,
now.
call
By
the
the time I
Veterans
finish
Crisis
saying
Line
that,
or the Military
it'll be
Crisis
over
Line.
completely, like it is now. All right, here's the police response. This is what people are saying is a response to an alien invasion at the Bayside Mall. There you go.
Esta es una llamada a todas las unidades de la ciudad de Miami.
Look at all of that. Seriously, though, look at this police response. Holy cow.
Esto es en Bayside ahora.
Good time to be doing absolutely anything that's illegal in South Florida. Just everything. See what people are speeding right now. No drunk drivers being field sobriety tested on the side of the road.
9:35 de la noche de hoy, 1 de enero, frente a Bayside.
All right, so that's the response. The Miami-Dade Police Department, or whatever they are, I don't know who they are, whatever, the people who are in charge, they have gone on record today and they want to say arrests have been made. It was a teenage mall silliness, and they've gone on record now as saying that there is absolutely no truth to the story that Miami was invaded by aliens over the weekend and that we are all now under the toe of the lizard overlords. So there you go, Miami aliens. I didn't want to do that story because it's just, but whatever. Whatever, we'll talk about it. People are talking about it. Florida has also passed a new law, age of verification for the sex sites. Not everything that they do in Florida is crazy and draconian. I kind of agree with this one. Florida, I believe that access to hardcore pornography is going to be an incredibly detrimental thing to the sexual understanding of young men. I think we're already a couple of generations into it. I think that we're probably 20 years since pornography has been super accessible. And what do you mean 20 years? You don't get it. Pornography when I was growing up was not accessible. You never saw pornography. I never saw pornography until I was legally able to see pornography. You didn't, I mean, you found a Playboy. Maybe you found a Hustler. That was the closest thing to pornography you ever saw, was a Hustler or a Penthouse. But now, when you're 13 and horny, now all you got to do is go online and you can Google search and see anything. And I've always felt that kind of rapid acceleration in sexual appetites, or even understanding of the myriad of peccadillos that are out there in the sexual world, that early infusion of this knowledge isn't good. I don't think it's good. I think a big problem with and I'm not anti-porn. I'm not at all. I am just anti-young people being able to access it, because I think that it really does slant your understanding of what a sexual relationship is. You get a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old who all they do is, pleasure themselves to these unrealistic goddesses, these fake boobs and fake, all of this stuff. That's what becomes their expectation of sex. And then they end up with a girl, a nice, normal girl, a beautiful, normal, everyday girl. And it's just not enough for them. We've seen this. That's just one aspect to the problem. The expectations are another thing, that you see the way these women I can only speak as the father of a boy. Okay. I know that there are other implications for women out there in this, but for a boy, the sexual expectation that you see that becomes your norm because you've been weaned on porn, your sexual expectations in the real world, well, you're going to be disappointed, because you are not going to be engaged in sexual relations with sexual super athletes like the girls that do porn. It's just not the same thing. So in Florida, what they're doing is they're trying to take steps to make it a little bit more difficult for children to access, and by children, I mean anyone under 18, minors, to access hardcore pornography. I'm all for it. I'm all for it, because I do think that's and we're not talking about making it so that a grown-ass man in his 30s can't look at porn if he wants to. Hell, this is America. That's your thing. That should be your thing. You should be allowed to do that. But it's about, man, I don't know. There is no innocence anymore. With access to pornography, there is no innocence, I think. Anyway, moving on. Florida is looking to pass laws to protect kids from online porn and social media. Florida lawmakers, social media is another big one. That's not something kids, I think that in 30 years, I think that people are going to sit around and go, do you know that back in the 2000s, teenagers were on social media? Oh my God, those people were animals. I think that that's a thing. I think that this is not going to be a thing that we're going to allow kids to be a part of in the future. And I think we need to take steps now. You're kidding me? Social media allows some creeper in Minnesota to flirt with my son who's in Texas at 2:00 in the morning because my kid's taking a break from study. I just don't, we need to really look. This all happened too fast. And all of a sudden everything got normalized. Protecting kids online is important, especially since their entire lives are online and they know more about what's available to them and they know more about all of this stuff than we do. Florida lawmakers are considering new laws that aim to keep children away from sexually explicit websites and harmful social media posts, joining a movement gaining momentum in state capitals across the country. One proposal, House Bill 1, would restrict access to social media platforms for anyone under the age of 16. Totally okay with that. Another measure, House Bill 3, would require pornography websites to verify that visitors are 18 years or older. I agree with that too. Why are you putting undue responsibility on the individual business owner? The individual business owner. Stop it. Let's talk about Pornhub. Pornhub is the #1 most searched site on the planet. Do you know the money we're talking about behind Pornhub? We're talking about tens and tens and tens of billions of dollars. Pornhub. #1. That's right. Google it. What are the most? Google is second. Pornhub is #1. Pornhub can afford to take some responsibility in shielding their content from our children. So, yeah, Pornhub, all of you people, all of you operators out there. Now, there's no way that you can institute this because there's so much shady porn stuff on the internet. They're just going to simply be countries that have porn sites like Russia, and they're not going to adhere to this stuff. So, yeah, the big ones, the big names, the Pornhubs, I don't know what some other Brazers, isn't that a name? These things, they'll probably be forced to take extra steps and it will cut into their bottom line. But again, they got billions and billions of dollars. And I, again, need to say I'm not anti-porn. I am not anti-porn in the least. It's not really my thing, it never has been. But it's not like I look down my nose at it. I'm just not that sexualized. Other states have passed similar bills in recent years. Those new laws are being litigated. Florida House Speaker Paul Renner said he wants to combat digital addiction, and he thinks Florida House Speaker Paul Renner said he wants to combat digital addiction that he thinks have created mental health issues, bullying, and other problems for youth. Yeah. All right. Anyway, there you go. Florida doing something I agree with. I don't get into the whole draconian stuff, right? I don't get into the whole they're different and they must be put in a corner. It's not my thing. But this is important. I really do think that the over-sexualization of kids in this era is just moving on. Oh boy, this is an interesting one. This is one that caught my eye this morning, and I thought, wait, what now? This is an actual story? How is this a story? This isn't something from Saturday Night Live? This isn't satire? This is so. The Oscars, the Academy of Motion Pictures, they've been really dedicating themselves over these past couple of years since the whole hashtag Oscars so white. They've been really dedicating themselves to take steps towards inclusion and diversity and all that stuff, and good for them. Whatever. I don't really think much about it, but hey, good for them. So they've taken these steps for films to be nominated for a Best Picture. They must include here. Let me tell you exactly what they must. Okay, so here it is. In 2020, the Academy voted to add inclusion standards for films to be eligible for the Best Picture Oscar. Okay, so starting this year is the first year that they have these inclusion standards. Starting this year, films that are nominated have to meet inclusion and diversity standards in 2 out of 4 areas. Okay, that's fine. 2 out of 4 areas. All right, so let's see here. What are these areas? On-screen representation. On screen. Well, it's one of the areas. You only need 2 of these 4. So this one is you got to have some people of color or some diversity among the cast. Understood. Themes and narratives. Okay, this is another one. Again, we only need 2 of these 4. So themes and narratives. Is this a story and a narrative from the perspective of diversity? Is it a diversified story? Okay, so those are the first 2. You got to have either diversified cast or diversity in the narration in the story of the film. Okay, that's fine. Creative leadership and project team. So what that means is that there needs to be some diversity in the producers, in the people who edit, in the people who put this thing together, the director. There needs to be some. Okay, that's fine. That's 3rd. And the 4th one, again, we need 2 of these 4 to be included in Best Picture. Creative, it says industry access and opportunities. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that one means. But those, okay, so Now, if you're going to be nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards, you have to check 2 of those 4 boxes. I don't think that's that hard. I mean, you know, they're giving you the production team. You know, you can have a couple of Asian ladies, you know, in your editing room, and you can check that box. And like, yeah, look at that. We got that. So, but here's why this story is being talked about today. Because the diversity of this project, that again, this is the first year that it's going to be instituted where films have to meet 2 of those 4 criteria. The diversity here was thought to be for people of color, classic minority groups, women, maybe different sexual orientations. I don't know. Diversity. It basically, when we say diversity in this context, we're talking about anything that isn't a middle-aged white man or a 30-something white man or a 20-something white man or a white teen. Whatever. That's what we're talking. We're talking about making it a little bit more, you know, colorful, a little bit more Benetton, if you will. So I understand that. I understand that, like, you know, I grew up not a whole lot of like, there were black movies. That's a black movie. There's a bunch of black people in that. Like, there was a difference. You had black movies. Denzel Washington kind of changed all that. Talk about a crossover guy. He kind of became like, you know, the black guy. Well, I guess Sidney Poitier before him. But my point is, if I have to go all the way back to Sidney Poitier before I can name another A-list Hollywood black actor, you can see a point why diversity might be needed. But here's why this is trending today. Because the Jewish people in Hollywood want to be included. That's right. That's right. There are a whole bunch of Jewish people in Hollywood who are now screaming to be included in the diversity thing. Now, first of all, you check. Let's forget about Jewish narratives in film. Okay, every movie can't be Yentl, right? Or Fiddler on the Roof. Let's forget about that. Let's forget about, let's not forget about Jewish actors and representation on screen, because there's a lot of Jewish actors. But you're going to check these boxes when you get to the creative team, because there's not a movie made in Hollywood that doesn't have a Jewish executive producer. This is ridiculous. I'm not one of these people who is like, the Jews run Hollywood. It's not a problem for me, because, you know, they've been making good shit. But it does appear that there are a lot of Jewish people, or at least a lot of names that appear in the credits for things that I suggest might be Jewish. So this is kind of hysterical to me, that there are a bunch of Jewish stars who are petitioning the Academy because they don't feel they're being represented in movies. Okay, so here I'm gonna give you the story, and I'm gonna tell you the story with a straight face. This is the real truth here. Juliana Margulies, David Schwimmer, and over 260 more implore the Academy to include Jews in their inclusion standards. Isn't this one of them goes without saying things? I really don't. Juliana Margulies, David Schwimmer, and Deborah Messing are among over 260 actors and other industry figures to sign an open letter demanding that the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Scientists include Jews in its representation and inclusion standards. I am not anti-Semitic in the least. I have a crap ton of Jewish friends. This is crazy, though. This is nuts. What are you doing? Doesn't it sort of take away from people who really are fighting to be included when you get like Deborah Messing going, I can't get good roles because I'm Jewish? Sorta. You know? And besides, to say nothing of the fact that I think it's a bit disingenuous to the overall goal of these inclusion standards, which is really, let's be honest, they want to see more people of color, more faces of minorities. They want to see that more regular in films, as opposed to every movie, a street scene being just a whole bunch of white people, whatever. I get that. So I understand that. But Jewish actors a black man, is missing from the scene. Name a color of person not in this scene. Well, there's no black people, but you can't do that with Jewish people. You can't look at him and go, I don't know. Is he Jewish? I don't know. This is absurd. This is absurd that these actors are trying to. This is why I say, man, you think I'm kidding when I tell you that all actresses go to hell? All actors are bad too, but actors aren't as bad as actresses because we deal with men in our regular lives who are just assholes, and all actors are assholes. So but actresses are the worst. I always say that. In general, these people are so self-unaware because they don't have any understanding whatsoever of who they are, because they are actors and they just go from pretending to be one person to the next, and they have absolutely no idea. And that makes them terrible people when you're in line with them at Starbucks. Terrible. Juliana Margulies, David Swimmer, and Deborah Messing are among over 260 actors and other industry figures to sign an open letter demanding the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Scientists include Jews in its representations. Jewish people being excluded from the Motion Picture Academy's representation and inclusion standards is discriminating against a protected class by invalidating their historic and genetic identity, the letter read. This is not a real issue. There is nobody who goes out to Hollywood and goes, oh, I wish I wasn't Jewish. This isn't a problem. This is not like, Jim Nabors in the 1970s having to conceal that he's gay, right? It's not that. This is not a problem. Jewish people are welcomed in Hollywood. Jewish people being excluded from the Motion Picture Academy's representation and inclusion standards is discriminating. Other notable signees, these are other people who signed on to this, who say, yeah, we should be represented in Hollywood. Other notable signees on the letter's growing list of supporters are Jennifer Goodwin. I don't even know who that is. Tiffany Haddish. What is she getting involved in this? What is she Jewish? Tiffany Haddish Jewish? Amy, is she on the wrong list? Did she sign the wrong thing? I think Tiffany Haddish meant to sign the Black Women petition. And Amy Sherman Palladino, Brett Gelman, Michael Rappaport, Eliza Schlesinger, Nancy Spielberg, and Friends co-creator Marta Kaufman and producer Kevin Bright. Who is Nancy Spielberg? Any relation? Because I'm guessing her name alone and the fact that she is involved in this is proof that Jewish people are not marginalized in Hollywood. The creators of Friends, Marta Kaufman and Kevin Bright, they've been held back. They can't believe how difficult it's been being Jewish comedy writers in the situation comedy genre. They can't believe how difficult that was for them. In 2020, the Academy voted to add inclusion standards for films to be eligible for the Best Picture Oscar. We talked about what those standards were. So this organization that put this note out is JITC. Jew in the City is what that stands for. Jew in the City started the first and only Jewish Hollywood Bureau in 2021 to advocate for whole and human Jewish depictions. Bureau representatives told The Wrap the open letter was to be mailed to the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Scientists on Tuesday morning, the day of the 14th Annual Governor's Awards. The letter also came in the midst of what the Bureau called an all-time high of anti-Semitic incidents in the United States. Yeah, well, that's a problem, but it's unrelated to Hollywood representation. All right, I just think that's an absolutely absurd story that the Jewish actors in Hollywood and Jewish producers and Jewish, people who run the studios and all, they want to be represented more. Nicole Eggert, a couple of stories here. Nicole Eggert, who we all love from Charles in Charge. I find it a personal attack in reading this story where it says Nicole Eggert, best known from Baywatch. And I'm like, no, she's not. She's best known from Charles in Charge. I don't even remember her being on Baywatch, but I do remember her from Charles in Charge. Nicole Eggert, she's got breast cancer. She's got breast cancer, and it's never a good thing. So keep a good thought for. By the way, still really cute. I saw a picture of her. She's really cute. She's like 50. She's still, when you start out, when your base is Nicole Eggert from Charles in Charge, I don't care how old you get, you're still going to be attractive. That's still an attractive base. You're working from such an advantage from the very beginning. I do remember a couple of years ago there were some pictures of her, and it's like, look how fat Nicole Eckert got. Was that's not. I don't know if those were true or not, but whatever. I saw a picture of her where she's talking about having breast cancer, and I'm like, oh, I could totally date that. I should be so lucky. She's beautiful. And best thoughts out there for Nicole Eckert. She seemed like a nice. Who was her sister? Remember her sister on Charles in Charge? She was younger, but there was something really magnetic about her sister. Or maybe it was that her sister was totally forgettable. I don't know, but there was something interesting about her sister. I don't remember. I can't picture her. Anyway, moving on. Nicole Eggert announced that she has breast cancer. So again, keep a good thought. Also, CNN reporter yesterday on the air announced that Sarah Seidner, also has stage 2 breast cancer. So yesterday was breast cancer day. That's the bad one. Like, look, all cancers are the bad ones. But I think just from my point of view, breast cancer is the one that takes moms, right? Like, that's how I think of it. It's like whenever, you hear the breast cancer thing, it's like, well, that's the one that takes moms. That's the one that takes moms and wives. And they're all bad. Who cares? Like, colon cancer, whatever, dudes, testicle, that happens to us, whatever, we're guys, we can take it. Breast cancer is one of the big ones. Takes our moms. All right, moving on. Some news here about Sinead O'Connor, who died last year. Isn't this weird? Sinead O'Connor did not die of suicide. We all just assumed. I moved on. Look, I love Sinead O'Connor. Loved her. I mean, look, she's weird as hell and all that stuff, but man, what an incredible artist she is. What a beautiful voice she had. Hauntingly so. I mean, just so incredible. And, she's an interesting person. She definitely had a lot of troubles in her life. Her family life was just awful. I mean, she was just systematically abused for the first 18 years of her life. She was raised in like this really abusive and brutal Irish nunnery. Like, she was sent to a nunnery where they beat the snot. Anyway, she had a rough life, and she's an incredible talent. She's really a great talent. And when she died, I think we all just went, well, her son killed himself a couple of months ago, and she was really upset about that. And she has a history of suicide attempts. So we all assume that that's what it was. But no, Sinead O'Connor's death has been deemed natural by the coroner, explicitly ruling out suicide as cause of death. Sinead O'Connor died of natural causes, a London coroner's office said in a statement released Tuesday morning. The finding apparently rules out the possibility that the Irish singer-songwriter died by suicide or drug overdose. This contrary to widespread speculation among her fans and after she was found unresponsive in her London home back in July. Best known for 80s and 90s pop hits such as her rendition of Nothing Compares to You, O'Connor was famous around the world for also speaking out about mental health and abortion and for posturing the sexual abuse in the Catholic Church. That's right. Never forget that. Never let her be forgotten for that. What we take for granted, the systematic generational abuse that has occurred to Catholic children at the hands of our Catholic Church here in America and around the world for that matter. But specifically here in America, we take that for granted now. We know that happened. We know it happened. We know that there are people who are still in power today who simply went, oh, it's terrible he molested all these kids. Let's be quiet about it and just move him to a different church where they don't know he molested all these kids, where he might molest more kids. Those people are still in power. We take all this for granted. We just shrugged our shoulders and moved on and went, I don't want to get into that. You know who got into it 20 years before everybody else? Sinead O'Connor. She was systematically abused by a bunch of nuns. She knew what was going on inside the Catholic Church. And on the biggest stage possible for her, she made a statement. She told the world that the Pope was complicit in the systematic abuse, sexual and otherwise, of children around the world. She did that on the stage at Saturday Night Live. And what did we do for her being the first, the canary in the coal mine? What did we do? We destroyed her. Never forget that. She was the canary in the coal mine. She came out and said, this is happening. And we said, no, it's not. You're the devil. We destroyed her career. She was right. So on this day, it should be noted that she did not die of suicide. It has officially been ruled that Sinead O'Connor died of natural causes. Apparently, she had been sick and probably wasn't all that healthy to begin with. But there you have it. So I found an interesting story yesterday. And I didn't... things that are dying. Things that Gen Z... I don't know what Gen Z is. Gen Z is what, 2000 to 2012-ish, something like that, maybe. Gen Z. My son is in Gen Z. He was 2009. He's at the end of Gen Z. But Gen Z, they're entering into the world now. There was a story about things that Gen Z doesn't do. How Gen Z is the most markedly different generation. Like millennials, millennials were not all that different from Gen X. Gen X are not all that different from boomers, right? There are certain common threads that we share. Not with Gen Z. Apparently, Gen Z is like being considered the first generation that is completely autonomous in their culture. It's completely what they're going to do. They are not tethered at all to millennials. And one of the things that Gen Z is not doing, which I thought was interesting, and they say that this is because they were raised in an era where you don't go to these kinds of things because bad shit happens, and that is Gen Z does not do the music concert. Gen Z does not do the music festival. Gen Z is not buying concert tickets. And then they talked about how the average Gen Z was more likely to wait in line to see Taylor Swift's Eras Tour at a movie theater than actually go to a concert and go see that live. They were more likely to see it in the movie theater. And that's the other thing Gen Z isn't doing. They don't go to movie theaters. I thought that was interesting. So what does that mean? So music festivals are going to be awesome now. It's going to be music. We can, all us Gen Xers and us millennials, we can all go back to music festivals now, and they'll start playing bands that we liked. Like, oh, I can't wait to see Jimmy Eat World and the Smashing Pumpkins on the main stage because it's all a bunch of dudes in their late 40s. I thought that was interesting. Anyway, the story that we have here today is Bonnaroo, one of the nation's most popular outdoor musical festivals that occur every year down there. Where is it? Kentucky, Tennessee, somewhere? I don't know. I don't want to go. Unless it's easy in and out. Like, I will go to a music festival. Like, here's how I would go to a music festival. For instance, I'll give you an example. Riot Fest in Chicago. Or even Lollapalooza. But I use these two because this is how I would enjoy going to these concerts. I want to go to a music festival that is a multiple day festival, but when the day of music is done, I want to be able to get in an Uber, go back to my nice hotel room, take a shower, rally with the people in the lobby, and then maybe go out to a nice dinner. That's how I would like to do it. So music festivals for me, I ain't going out in the middle of nowhere to sleep in a tent. That is not, I'm long past that. Bonnaroo is never going to get my dollar. However, an interesting lineup for this year's Bonnaroo. Post Malone and the Red Hot Chili Peppers are among the headliners for 2024 Bonnaroo. It's, what is it, 3 days? What is it? It's, we got Friday. What do we got? Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Is that it? All right, let's look at some of these lineups. Oh no, it starts on Thursday. Thursday, the headlining act for Thursday, June 13th at Bonnaroo is Pretty Lights. They're headlining the main stage. Not a clue who that is. So Thursday, let's see how many of these bands I've heard of. Pretty Lights. Nope. Fisher. Nope. Big X the Plug. Nope. Disco Lines. Nope. Eggy. Nope. Geese. Nope. Guar. Yeah, I've heard of Guar. The Heavy. Nope. Honey Love. Nope. It's Murph. Nope. I don't know any of these bands. Friday. All right, how about Friday? Friday night, the Friday night main stage is headlined by Post Malone. Yes, of course. I'm not only is he big enough, but he's also, he's like Mr. Local guy, Post Malone. Everybody here knows Post Malone. Everybody everywhere knows Post Malone. He's headlining Friday, June 14th. Who else is he playing with? Seven Lions. Nope. Joe Russo's Almost Dead. Nope. Lizzie McAlpine. Nope. T-Pain. Yeah, I've heard of T-Pain. Gary Clark Jr. There you go. That's a reason to go. Gary Clark Jr. I'm showing my dad rock stuff. Gary Clark's awesome. The Mars Volta, also awesome. There you go. All right, so this is so far not bad. I would absolutely see Post Malone, Gary Clark Jr., and the Mars Volta. I don't know about all these other bands, but let's see. David Kushner. I don't know who that is. The Japanese House. That sounds like a sushi restaurant. Nope, don't know anybody else. Saturday. How about Saturday night at Bonnaroo? Saturday night at Bonnaroo is being headlined by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Red Hot Chili Peppers. Here's who's playing with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Cage the Elephant. Okay, I've heard of them. Melanie Martinez. Nope. Cigarettes After Sex. Nope. Never heard of them. Diplo. Heard of that. John Baptiste. Heard of that. Brittany Howard. Oh, Brittany Howard. Isn't that sad? I think her husband killed her. She could have done so much more than just Clueless. Brittany. Oh, I see what you're saying. That's Brittany Murphy. I don't know who Brittany Howard is. Sean Paul. I've heard of him. He's somebody. Don't know who he is. These are, again, the people playing with the Red Hot Chili Peppers on Saturday. Bad, not good. All capitalized. I don't know what that is. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. Sunday. All right. Sunday. Here's who's playing Sunday night at Bonnaroo. Fred Again is the headliner. I don't know who Fred Again. It's so weird because Fred Again is the Sunday headliner, and then the three other bands playing with him are all people I've heard of, but I've never heard of Fred Again. Why? Because I'm an old white man. Fred Again is headlining Bonnaroo on Sunday, June 16th. He is being supported by Megan Thee Stallion. She's big. Is she not bigger than Fred Again? No. Jesus. I was just going to look and see. Okay, it looks like maybe Adam Rain is busy because I'm surprised he's not. You don't know any of these bands? I'm like, no, I don't. I don't know any of these bands. Fred Again on Sunday is being supported by Megan Thee Stallion, Jason Isbell in the 400 unit. Now that's a band. That band cooks. Carly Rae Jepsen. I've heard of her. All right, so I don't know who any of these other people are. Milky Chance, Chappelle. All right, there you go. That's nothing. There you go. I don't know what else to tell you. Bonnaroo. It's going on the June 13th through the 16th down there in the middle of nowhere. Hope it doesn't rain because that's, even if it does, even perfect outdoor weather conditions, you're going to be in like Tennessee in June. No way, man. Do you know what the bugs are going to be like down there? Ugh, God, that sounds awful. How about this? We can end with this. This is the last. Adam, sorry, I'm working out. Well, you know what? Tell your apology to somebody else, Adam, because I needed you to trigger me for not knowing all of these bands, and you were nowhere to be found. Son of a bitch. Here's an interesting thing that I found, and I say interesting very loosely because I added this to today's rundown when I didn't think that we were going to have a whole bunch of other stories. So I was like, well, in a pinch, we'll go to that. And it's not necessarily a pinch, but we got 3 minutes here, so why not go through this? I found this story trending. It was in the Google Top 100, and it is apropos of absolutely nothing. I don't know why this is trending, but the headline is, Things Not to Say to a Texan. Huh? Are you intrigued? I was kind of intrigued until I read the article. And I'm like, oh, this is all stupid stuff. This is all like really dumb stuff. This is what someone from Connecticut tells somebody from Indiana. Don't, if you go to Texas, don't, you know what I mean? This is so stupid. So here we go. Let's look at these. All right. We got a number of Texans here assembled in the chat room. A couple of minutes. We're going to switch on over to James over there at WBAP. He's got the James Parker stream on his Facebook page. So we'll be jumping over in a minute. But first, let's get started here. So it says if you're traveling to Texas or have a chance meeting with a Texan, here's things not to say. All right, so apparently these are things that if you say to a Texan, we're all so trigger happy that we're just going to go off. Number 1, don't talk about how hot your summers in the Midwest used to be. Why not? Why not? I talk about them all the time. I mean, I always talk about how hot it gets in the summer, in the Midwest, only in relation to how ridiculously hot it gets here. But I don't understand why that's a problem. Now, if you're saying to a Texan, well, I know about heat, I'm from Minneapolis, St. Paul. If you're saying that, then you're an idiot. Then yeah, you shouldn't say that to a Texan. But all right, so I guess what we could just par this down to is don't talk about how hot it is where you're from to a Texan, because they're going to be like, oh, shut up. Number 2, don't ask a Texan if they ride a horse to work. I completely understand how people, because when I moved down here, I was surprised. That is really a perception that not all of you, we understand that there is a suburban and an urban component to, Texas and all that. But anybody like raised like 20 miles outside of Dallas, yeah, I think people from the Midwest probably go, they probably ride a horse to school. It's not the case. But, so they say, don't do that. Don't ask Texans if they ride a horse. All right, here we go. More things that do not say to a Texan. Number 3, making fun of us for closing our schools when the temperature drops below 40. All right, no, I'm not going to stop doing that. That's absurd. I get it. You're not conditioned to handle cold weather here. So, it drops below 40 and school gets closed for the week. Fine. I wish I went to school here. That would have been awesome. Number 4, things don't say to a Texan. Don't tell a Texan that you've had great Tex-Mex elsewhere in the country. It says here, don't mention the great Tex-Mex you had in Wisconsin, Montana, or Oregon. People in Texas do not want to hear that. Yeah, I get it. I absolutely get it. And I completely understand because I grew up on Tex-Mex, 70s, 80s, and Tex-Mex became a thing. And I grew up on a place called Chi-Chi's. Chi-Chi's was a Mexican food Tex-Mex restaurant that was in the Midwest, and it was very good. I loved it. We're going to Chi-Chi's. It was awesome. And then I moved to Texas, and I realized that Chi-Chi's was the trashiest, least inspired, lamest Tex-Mex on the planet, because you can step outside a gas station here and buy some Tex-Mex. Actually, I shouldn't say Tex-Mex, but you can it's everywhere. Like there's a gas station on the corner of Lemon and Mockingbird with a lady with a cart who sells the absolute best street tacos and fresh elotes you ever had. She's a magnificent person. And I make it a point. My son and I go there and we get the elotes. I'm like, you want an elote? You want to split an elote? Okay. So yeah. So we don't know. I never even had elote until I moved here. And I'm like, why don't we have this in the Midwest? So yeah, don't tell a Texan about the good Tex-Mex elsewhere because it's just not the same level. It's cute and it's nice that you think. It's like when Texans tell me that they have good pizza here. It's like, I get it. I get how frustrated a Texan gets when somebody from elsewhere tries to tell them how great Tex-Mex is in Indiana. Right? I get it. I get it on a molecular level because I have had these conversations with Texans who are like, it's the best pizza you've ever, you're going to love this. And then you taste it and you're like, wow, this tastes store-bought. Wow, does this taste like it's from a can? Wow, you don't know what good pizza tastes. It's the same for Tex-Mex. Nobody who doesn't grow up in Texas knows. You learn when you get here. Tex-Mex is now number 1. It used to be Italian. It used to be Italian, Chinese, and then Mexican food were like my 3 favorite genres of food. But now Tex-Mex is by far number 1. And you know what I love most about Tex-Mex? I love how it spans the gamut. Tex-Mex can be a thing that you go and you eat on a picnic table in a parking lot. That can be some amazing Tex-Mex. Tex-Mex can also be white linen tablecloths with, tuxedoed waiters. And that is also like there is a high level, a mid level. Oh, it's the best. All right. Number 5 thing that you do not say to a Texan. You don't tell a Texan that tea sweetened with sugar is the same as sweet tea. All right. Sorry. I got to admit, I'm lost on this one. Maybe I haven't been here long enough. Sweet tea isn't just tea with sugar. I thought that's what sweet tea was. What do you got, some magic Texas dirt that you put in there to make your sweet tea? Because I got to be honest, I've had some real Texas sweet tea, and I've been like, no different than the sweetened tea that I drank my whole life in the Midwest. So I don't understand what the whole thing about sweet tea is. Moving on. Number 6 thing you don't say to a Texan. It says you don't go the speed limit in the slow lane. I don't even know what that's about. And we can do a whole other thing about driving here in Texas because number 7, telling us your barbecue or tacos are better elsewhere. All right, well, this is like the Tex-Mex thing. The one thing that Texas has better than anywhere else is Tex-Mex, and it's right there in the name. Okay, it's right there in the name. But tacos and barbecue as well. Nobody does those two things at such a high level so consistently, quite like Texas. Now, there are other places that might do tacos better. There's a real argument for the Southern California, San Diego style taco and burrito. A lot of people love that. It's a little bit different than what we have here, which is more of, I would describe as a street taco vibe. But California doesn't also do barbecue at a high level. And sure, you can go to North Carolina and you can get some really great barbecue that might be every bit as good as barbecue that you get slow roasted here in Texas. However, North Carolina doesn't have tacos worth a damn. There is no place in the world that has 2 of these things at the elite level like Texas does. Texas has elite level tacos, maybe not the best, but they're still elite level. And Texas has elite level barbecue. Maybe not the best, but it's still elite level. So don't tell me about your barbecue. I never had good barbecue. Honestly, I never had good barbecue till I moved down here. I always had ribs. Like, that was the thing. Barbecue, in the Midwest growing up was St. Louis style barbecue pork ribs slathered in sauce. Loved it. That's delicious. Fall off the bone pork ribs. I thought that's all there was to barbecue. And then I moved down here and I ordered beef ribs, and I didn't understand that, beef ribs come from a cow, and I'm not going to I tried to order, long story short, I tried to order a slab of beef ribs because that's what you would order of pork ribs. You would go, yeah, just give me a full slab. Well, a full slab is the full size of the pig, right? Do you know what the full size of a cow is? You can't get a slab of cow ribs. Man, I'm telling you, I do not understand why in the Midwest, I don't understand why beef barbecue hasn't taken off. There is nowhere. When I moved back to Illinois, I used to crave beef barbecue. I used to crave it. Not a single place that you can go without having to drive 50 miles to get beef barbecue. Big giant Flintstone type. It's like a steak on a stick. I love it. Anyway, number 8, saying you've been to Texas if you've only been to Austin. So that's another thing. Don't ever claim that you've been to Texas, but then turns out you've only been to Austin. I don't know why that is. I think Austin is very represented. It's the capital. I think you've been to Austin, you stayed in Austin, you can say you've been to Texas. This is some bullshit here. Yes, Texas is more than just Austin, but I don't think there's anything that really embodies all of Texas quite like Austin. You people that want Texas to just be one thing, Texas ain't that. Texas is probably the most, well, I'm going to say probably, one of the most diverse states in the country. It's one of the largest. We've got people of all different backgrounds, all different things. Tell a person, you ain't been to Texas if you've only been to Austin. Yeah, you have. Stop it. What do I got to go spend 2 weeks in the middle of fucking nowhere in order to say that I've been to Texas? Get out of here. Number 9 thing that you never say to a Texan, you don't insult Whataburger or Blue Bell ice cream. Okay, so I'm going to violate one of those here. And here's what I'm going to say. And some of you are not going to like what I'm about to say here. There will be no Whataburger slander on my watch. Whataburger's amazing. I love Whataburger. I am staring at a Whataburger cup right now. There's a Whataburger cup right there on the counter. I love Whataburger. Whataburger is, I think the best fast food hamburger. And I think that the fun thing about Whataburger is I always think You know how, like, when In-N-Out came to Texas or Portillo's came to Texas, and then you see the news reports of the cars, and they had to bring in extra police to direct traffic because the response to the new In-N-Out burger in Texas was crazy. Do you know what would happen if you opened a Whataburger in like the Chicago area? Oh my God. Oh my, I know the place too. The whole time I was back in Chicago, I'm like, there needs to be a Whataburger here. Want to know where it is? I'll tell you. 183rd in Harlem, right there on the corner, right across the street from the old Tinley Park Mental Institution. You put a Whataburger right there with access to 80. Oh man. Or you can just do it on the off ramp there. You can just make like, oh, you would be killer. Whataburger is amazing. I love it. And the only person, I've never heard anyone from outside Texas try a Whataburger and say that it sucks. The only people who I've ever heard say Whataburger sucks are Texans. That's it. And it's always the contrarian Texan. I'm Texas through and through, and Whataburger sucks. That guy. That guy's out there. I've never heard anybody eat it because objectively, it's a very good hamburger and it's cheap. It's crazy how big that hamburger is for the price point. I applaud that. Good job, Whataburger. Now, let's move on to the most overrated ice cream on the planet, Bluebell. That's right. Look, I get it. There's sentiment attached to your ice cream. You think about being a kid. You think about sitting in grandma's backyard and her bringing out bowls of Bluebell ice cream. Bluebell ice cream is delicious. And the Bluebell seasonal eggnog ice cream is possibly my second favorite ice cream of all time. It's delicious. It's delicious. Bluebell, it only comes out like at Christmas and stuff. But Bluebell eggnog ice cream. Probably get it on sale now. I bet you they didn't sell it all. So you go there and you dig around in the back of the ice cream, you can probably find some Bluebell eggnog ice cream. It's very good. But Bluebell is not any better than any of the other great. I don't get it. Like, have you ever done an ice cream taste test and went, oh, this one is gross? All ice cream, basically elite ice cream. And Bluebell is elite ice cream. Like, there's a category of elite ice cream. All of that shit is good. All right. It's the cheaper ice creams that you get that are more like ice milk, or maybe they use less fat because it's like a much cheaper ice cream or whatever. But as far as like, I don't understand how people be like, okay, so what is like a good ice cream that I grew up with? I'm trying to think of what a good ice cream that I grew up. Oberweis. There you go. So like Oberweis is like a really good ice cream in the Midwest. Oberweis Dairy, Oberweis, Wisconsin. It's very good. You get the good Oberweis ice cream. It's the same as Bluebell. They're both good. They're both really good. So there you have it. Don't insult Whataburger or Bluebell to a Texan. I've just told you that I think Whataburger is fantastic, and I think that Bluebell is wildly overrated. And I don't understand it. It's good. It's good. But for like $2 extra, I'll get the Kroger brand. I'll get the Kroger brand chocolate ice cream, and it's going to be just as good as the premium priced Bluebell. Number 10. The last thing that you want to do to a Texan, this is just stupid. Number 10, it says, reminding us that we lost the Battle of the Alamo. Well, who the fuck does that? That's stupid. You did dumbass. I'll tell you, that's why it's trending. You trend, you put Texas in something, in a story or an article, it's going to trend. All right, folks, that's going to do it. That's today's show. We got nothing else. April says, we only buy HEB brand at my house. Yeah, I buy Kroger ice cream when I buy ice cream, the Kroger brand ice cream. And here's why. Because for the longest time throughout the entire summer, it was like you get 2 quarts or whatever, half gallons. I don't know what those are. You get 2 of those for $5. It was like Kroger brand ice cream, 2 for $5. And that was an incredible deal. And they've got like crap tons of flavors. So over the course of the summer, my kid and I would be like, all right, pick one. And we do a different flavor every time. We got to sample them all. Guess what? Kroger ice cream, delicious. There wasn't one moment where we ate some Kroger ice cream and went, I wish I could have Bluebell. No, we were like, this is damn good ice cream. There was no bad ice cream. I mean, there's cheap ice cream that isn't quite as good as elite ice cream. I guess you got to break it down. In the elite categories of ice cream, the name brand top ice creams, there's no bad ice cream. It's good. It's all good. Who else we got, Barney? Barney says, I do generic ice cream only. And why wouldn't you? Ice cream is a formula. It's fat, sugar, and dairy and flavorings. There is no magic, extra thing. Good for you, Barney. You're nobody's fool. Bluebell also killed people with listeria. That's an accident. You can't hold it. April, we can't be holding that against the good folks at Bluebell. We can't do that. All right, guys. I think that's going to be it. We're out of here. That's done. We are done, Zo. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm still sick. I did pretty good. I think I did pretty good. Forgot about my coffee. And I forgot it wasn't coffee. It's tea. Remember, I'm drinking tea. What else do I need to do? Oh yeah, a reminder, good things in 2024. So next Monday, we'll be doing the morning show over at the Freak again. So it'll be the Radio Misfits, myself and Seb and Lacey, and I'm sure E will be coming along, and we will try and imitate a morning show one more time. That's Monday, the 15th. So we appreciate that. That's it. I guess I got nothing else. Thank you to Mike D, who is our executive producer for today's show. If you are so inclined, I don't think we got any tips today, but drop a little something if you can. It'd be greatly appreciated. Yep. So we're gonna move on, and we're going to see you tomorrow. I got nothing else. I don't know how to end the show now that we can't use the closing theme. I don't even want to use a closing theme. I want to know. The show starts with me, a stream of consciousness, just talking, challenging myself to see if I can keep going for 2 hours. It has now been 2 hours plus, and I think, based upon what I promised, that I have delivered on my promise. And now I'm done.